Day 3 of moving into my new reselling warehouse. I want to give you guys an update. Again, a little bit of talking head today. You can see by what's behind me that it has been a long 3 days of packing up this 2,000 square foot warehouse in preparation for our move. So let me just catch up a little bit from what happened from yesterday. When I left after filming the video, I of course went by the post office as resellers do. Actually, I don't usually go by the post office. We do have a pickup here. Shout out to Anthony, our postal carrier, who does an awesome job. But he came a little early and we were still shipping, so you know how that is. You got to get your things scanned in. So I did go to the post office here locally and dropped off the stuff. And then right behind the post office is the sign company that I've used for many years to do projects. And so they make signs, Allstar Signs, shout out to them in Indian Trail, North Carolina. And talked to the owner, Trevor. So in my new location, not only do I need to get a sign made just to kind of slap on the building as one does, but I also need to get some parking signs made, because I may have already mentioned to you guys that the parking over there is a little tight. I have 6 spots in front of my building, and there's already people who are kind of used to parking there who are in other businesses or their customers. So I'm going to get some signs made to go up so that it's sort of like, you know, reserved parking and stuff like that. So the follow-up to that story is this morning I came over here, had a quick breakfast and started working a little bit, but I was expecting to head over there at about 9 o'clock to meet the internet guy, the Spectrum. We have Spectrum here in this part of Carolinas, and so the Spectrum guy to establish the internet service. And so I kind of had planned out, I was trying to like do some stuff like send out offers and just do some computer work before I went over there. But I got a call from an area code I didn't recognize, so I picked up and it was the Spectrum service person who was there like, 30 minutes early. So I, jumped in the car and drove over there. Interestingly enough, I had typed up this letter that I was going to put on the windshields of anyone at the new business, kind of saying like, hello neighbor, please don't park here anymore. And I told that to my wife, and this is one of those lessons that men learn eventually, and I have learned, is you need to listen to your spouse. And so she told me, when I told her what I was going to do with like, issuing my own little parking tickets as my hello to these folks who work, who have businesses near me, she just thought that was a terrible idea. So I listened to my wife. And it just so happens on the way between this building and the next building, which is about 5 miles away, I passed by a Dunkin' Donuts. So I went through the drive-thru, got myself some coffee, but also got a dozen sorted donuts, thinking that, whatever the phrase would be, like basically, lead with, well, in this case, lead with sweets, right? So when I got there to the new place, met the Spectrum guy. He was actually really happy when he got inside the building because he saw it was going to be super easy. He told me he had allotted 3 hours for this installation, or that's what his schedule had said. But literally there was nothing to do. He did get up on a ladder and do something on the pole, but inside it was like already a cable run. He just needed to plug in the new equipment and turn it on, and we reset the password and that kind of stuff. So he was probably out of there about in an hour. But while he was working, I went next door. There's a shop next door, and so I sort of walked in and said, hey, is the owner here? There's 2 guys standing there, and they said, no, his name is Jason. How about that? He said he's not here. But I said, okay. I said, well, I kind of explained, well, I'm moving in next door, and I, thought I would just come say hello, and I brought donuts to kind of say, nice to meet you, that kind of thing. And we got to talking a little bit, and somehow I slipped in there. I didn't make this the point of the conversation, but I did slip in there something about, oh yeah, parking, we're going to need our spots. And so they caught on to that pretty quickly, like, oh yeah, okay, well, yeah, we've been parking there a long time because the church. So anyways, it all worked out. So they made that good first impression. I did still leave a couple of my little parking tickets on two cars that were parked out there, but that was okay. And then the other super cool thing that happened, thank you to Crystal Mouse, who's up in the Dakotas. I met her at the Boss Reseller Remix out in Vegas, and this is why I think it's always important to kind of have your tribe of people that you can lean on and ask questions of. So when I was at the Boss Reseller Remix, it's something you should do in life, and especially in businesses. You should try to sort of learn from people who are where you want to be, right? And so I've been doing this for a long time. I've been leasing warehouse space for a long time, but Crystal had kind of crossed that bridge, and she bought her own building. In fact, really interesting story, they sort of were doing this thing where they were building the buildings from the ground up, and so she bought one and was able even to talk to the developer about how she wanted it laid out. And so she was so generous. I kept in touch with her after Boss, and she ended up doing like a Facebook video tour of her warehouse and kind of showed me how she had it set up, because I really wanted to kind of think about shelving and all the things. And one thing that Crystal said to me was, as she was walking around the warehouse, she said, "I really suggest you get a rolling ladder." And this thought had never crossed my mind, because in my warehouse, I stupidly have a ladder, you know, those little ones you fold out, right? I have a ladder that's really tall, and I would just drag it around my warehouse and fold it out and climb up the top and, you know, daringly get things from the top of shelves. But she mentioned how it was just a really important thing for her to be able to roll this thing around that has like handles and rails, and it locks in place and it's very secure, and to be able to get up on higher shelves. And I was like, oh man, that is a great tip, because in this new location, I have kind of like a big room that's where all the inventory is going to be, and I'm going to have these 8-foot tall shelves that I'm going to build. And so in my mind, I already thought, well, at the top of the 8-foot shelves, I can put a piece of plywood and make you know, a nice top shelf that we could also store things. But the problem with having something that high is, how are you going to get to it, right? And then also in my new building, the ceilings are about between 12 and 13 feet tall. And so I was even thinking like, gosh, when it's time to like change the air filter or things like that, you know, like it's gonna be a tall ladder, right? So thanks to Crystal, I looked on Facebook Marketplace, which is what she recommended. And lo and behold, literally the first time I looked, boom, there it was. Only about maybe 15 minutes away, there was a guy who had what he called a 6-footer, and and he was selling it real cheap for a couple $100. And you know, I imagine these things brand new are a lot more than that. So I messaged him, went back and forth, and said, oh yeah, I'll definitely, you know, pay $200. I'm going to come. And this guy was super nice. This doesn't always happen on Facebook Marketplace, but this guy, I went and met him, talked to him, gave him the money I sent him PayPal. Saw his shop. He actually repairs like things like trucks and other big vehicles that need like painting and body work done. That's kind of what his business is. And so he has this big giant metal building on his property, which is pretty cool. So he agreed to sell me the ladder, and get this, he agreed to then drop it off at my new building when I was ready, because I hadn't even closed yet. I was still a couple weeks from closing. I didn't have a trailer. I didn't have a pickup truck. I didn't have any way to get this big. It's really, at the top foot is 6'4", 6'4" inches tall is the height of the last step. And again, it's all railing with wheels. It rolls around. It's really awesome. So I coordinated everything, and while the Spectrum guy was there, the guy showed up to drop off the ladder. It was so awesome. Pulled up in his trailer, he had it loaded up there, so we were able to get it in the door, get it in there. I went ahead and gave him a little tip of money on PayPal to thank him for delivery, even though he didn't ask for that. And yeah, I tested it out. I'll show you a picture of it here in the video. It's awesome. I love it. It's going to be great. Literally, if I stand on that top step, I can touch the ceiling. And that's just perfect for, you know, again, getting anything off of a shelf safely, but also, you know, it's whatever I need to do. And I can just roll that thing around the warehouse. So I'm super psyched about that. So then I left and came back here, and it was time to kind of meet up with the college kids, my daughter and one of the other employees that I have, her son, and kind of got back to work loading this thing up, right? And so you can see behind me, this is the first time that I've had the lid up on the truck. We have really, whoa, this is like a 24 foot U-Haul that this moving company bought and kind of painted and you know, made it into their own. So it really goes far back, and we've just been loading this thing up for 3 days now. I had kind of hoped that today we would just be completely done loading it, and when I close the lid, that would be it. I would just lock it and it would be ready for moving day. But we didn't get there. We made a ton of progress though. There is a ton of stuff. I mean, really, there's whole parts of this warehouse now that are just empty, and that's great. But it's okay, because we have all of next week, and it's going to be the following week when the movers come. so I can still work to fill up this truck. I won't have as much of my college kid help because they'll be going back to college, but I will have the help of my daughter, who is going to help out. She's actually doing a study abroad coming up this spring, and so she doesn't leave until like the 25th or something like that. So I'll have her for another couple weeks. So she'll probably still be able to help me finish stacking this truck. Another thing I won't miss from my warehouse, I have like motorcycle repair shop over here. They get a little loud. So anyways, I treated the kids to lunch, and even had someone else, a guy named Brad. Thank you for, if you watch this video, Brad, thanks. I had mentioned in my newsletter that I send out to scouting memorabilia collectors that I was going to be moving and packing and all this. And so this guy who lives local and has come and visited me a couple times to buy stuff from me, he just came over and said, well, I came to help. He literally had work gloves. He's ready to go. It's a little older guy, and so I had a perfect project for him. I said, I've got all of these plastic containers, like little shoebox containers, from buying collections and stuff. I might have 100 of them, might have 200 of them. And I said, you know, if you could like match these up, stack them together, shrink wrap them so we could get them on. And you can see some of them are kind of back up there. If you can see in the video, that's where I started putting those, but they just have to be containerized, right? That's kind of how everything works. And so anyways, that pretty much sums it up. I have a little bit more time to go here in day 3. I actually have to do some shipping. I ran a Whatnot show on Wednesday, and I don't have all the shipping done. So I need to get that done, and which I will. I was able to get my daughter to go pick up my son from the bus, and so that gives me a little more time over here. And then this weekend I hope to spend time at the warehouse, the new warehouse. Now the electricians are coming Monday. In fact, I had a visit from the electrician. He needed some money to get started, so I wrote him a big old check. But it's going to be, you know, a really cool deal. And I won't talk too much about the electricians in this video, because that's going to be more of a focus of, you know, probably when they show up on Monday. But anyways, this is the end of day 3, for at least for this video. I appreciate you guys kind of coming along the ride and seeing this journey I'm on to move my eBay reselling business into a new warehouse. Please, in the comments, leave questions and stuff. I will probably, you know, as I start publishing these videos, I will be able to read the comments, and then that might even help me shape what I focus on in the future videos, in terms of like, what would you like to see, or what other questions do you have, or, you know, literally, here's an example. In the last, 24 hours, I have talked to 2 business owners who are like me, who are leasing space, but in the back of their head, they really want to buy space. And so for both guys, one was the sign guy, and then one is one of the car guys who's a neighbor in this warehouse building that I'm at. And you know, started to have this conversation about, this is what I experienced, this is who I talk to, and all that. So, you know, I can't help you if you live in another state probably, but there's a lot of things about going through this journey of commercial real estate that's a little different from those of us who've, you know, bought houses and moved your houses. It's just kind of a different game. And so now that I am kind of at the finish line of that game, closing's done, everything, you know, I got the keys, we're all done with that. You know, I'm not an expert, but I have lived experience anyways, and so maybe that's something someone wants me to lean into. So, all right, appreciate it very much. Thanks for watching this video. Again, look in the comment below, and you'll see the video for day 4, which will be coming up next. Thanks, guys.